Hello everyone, Orionsgear here. Today I'd like to go over a frame that I've been enjoying using to clear lots and lots of Relic missions before Gyre gets here this weekend. This is Gyre. Gyre is a frame that uses her electrical powers and the ability to chain set electrical procs to clear lots of enemies very quickly. Today I'd like to go over what I consider to be a good build for her. Gyre's abilities have a 10% chance to deal critical damage for each electrical status that affects the enemy. This is what makes her kit work, this is what makes it tick, and this is how you are able to deal a huge amount of critical hits. I use Arcsphere specifically to clear low to mid-level trash mob, and having a passive amount of damage in terms of electrical procs is helpful when trying to build to what is her 4 ability. So instead of using her CC ability, I'm opting to use Infested Mobility as a mobility tool just to make sure I'm keeping up not only with the rest of the team but racing ahead so I can clear everything quickly. With a bonus of 133% sprint speed and 66% parkour velocity, I'm able to clear any form of physical barrier that I may or may not encounter. Also like to point out that Infested Mobility is also come in incredibly handy when getting away from certain enemies. For example, if there is some form of toxin based enemy, I'm able to just jump right away and come back to them when I'm ready. It also acts as an excellent way to go between Group A and Group B of enemies, or between points, or things like that. It's just generally a really good mobility tool as an ability. Cathode Grace being one of 2 of her set and forget abilities gives her the ability to build massive amounts of critical chance and energy regeneration in a quick amount of time. However, the downside to this one ability is that if you do not fulfill the conditions of this ability staying on quick enough, and as you can see it is 14 seconds with a time to kill. If you don't fulfill an enemy kill within the 14 seconds, you will be penalized with a 60-second cooldown. I'm not exactly too sure what caused the design team to create an ability with a punishment in terms of a cooldown, but it is essential that you get a kill within the first 14 seconds. So I would recommend using this ability when you are certain you are close to enemies without actually being near them, because there is a large cast time with this ability and her 4th ability, so just be mindful of that. Rhoda Swell, being her 4 ability, gives Gyre a large AoE that passively shocks enemies within range. This ability is pretty much essential to a kit. I'd also like to point out that the discharge range is 19 meters. Discharge referring to whenever a critical electrical proc hits an enemy while using Rhoda Swell. Cathode Grace only enhances these critical chance, her critical chance and her ability to crit. So what you've got is like a feedback loop between Cathode Grace and Rhoda Swell, which makes her into a crit dealing monster. For the mod component of this video, I'd like to point out a few things. Yes, I have made the decision to run Retribution over Rolling Guard, simply because it enhances the electrical procs of all of her abilities. Apart from that, it's a fairly standard build. I've got high strength, mid to high range, middle-ish duration, and low efficiency. I made the decision to run low efficiency because Cathode Grace gives you a passive energy regeneration, Archon Stretch tying into that as well. For each electrical proc, you restore 2 energy per second. That helps with energy economy and slow regeneration. Also, I would also like to point out that continuity and message are on here as well, because when her snowball damage snowballing conditions are completely met, the maximum amount of duration that her 3 and 4 abilities can get, or with the help of Cathode Grace, are a maximum of between 53 and 73 seconds. So that's more than enough to move between enemies, and using Infested Mobility and continuously using it over and over again because of Cathode Grace's energy regeneration makes this incredibly versatile, and there's really no waiting. Corrosive Protection is on here, however I would also use Brief Respite or Combat Discipline instead, because if you run Combat Discipline and then run an Arcane like Arcane Avenger, and then run that as well as a blue Archon Shard, you can create a second feedback loop where if you kill an enemy, you get damaged. Arcane Avenger procs, you get more critical chance on top of your already enhanced critical chance, which enables you to kill more, which enables you to promote the use of Cathode Grace and Rotor Swirl, which would then encourage that aura mod to go off, which then goes off the Arcane, which then goes to the abilities, and so on and so on. Moving on from there, she uses the Amprex, Governor's Chamber, and Aptitude staples of the build. I currently run a viral / with electricity on top build, simply because slash and viral are an incredibly effective combo, and electricity is there for crowd control with an additional amount of critical damage just to top it off. She only encourages critical chance on everything that she uses, so to be putting it on here would be quite redundant, so I instead to run Vital Sense. Also, Hunter's Munitions only benefits her kit, since if I'm always promoting critical hits to hit enemies, and electricity is on that weapon, along with viral and the possibility to slash on a beam weapon that chains through different enemies, then it's only going to make a dull weapon more powerful. And for the Arcane Adapter, I would use probably Merciless. For a secondary, I use the Ocucore. If you want to see the original build for this, then I would advise you clicking on this link in the top right hand corner, which will take you to the original build for this. But moving on, I've opted to use the Ocucore because it's recently gotten its incredibly powerful mod, Sentient Surge, so this build already has a good amount of ammo economy. Target Cracker and Prime Pistol Gambit are just on there. I just wanted to change the elements over, so I've got Pistol Pestilence and Frostbite to create Viral, Electricity for crowd control. This applies to every tendril that comes out of the Ocucore as well. Lastly, the melee is a bit of a weird one because I'm using the Tenet exec modded in such a way that it only benefits heavy attacks. And let me explain. So, if it's only opted to use heavy attacks, why is it on Gyre? Well, I'm not really using it intended for melee. I'm using it simply because Life Strike is on it. What Life Strike does is, 20% lifesteal on heavy attacks. That's alright though. But if you know what the Tenet exec does on a heavy and or slam attack, it sends out 3 pulses that hit multiple enemies at once, which is why Primed Reach, Organ Shatter, Killing Blow, Enduring Affliction are all on here as well. If it procs a cold tick, then Lasting Sting will be effective. Enduring Affliction is applied when an enemy is lifted And based on fairly limited testing, I will admit, enemies are instantly in a lifted state when you use a Tenet exec heavy slam. This causes enemies to be lifted and then they explode upwards and outwards, which means that Life Strike procs, Enduring Affliction will proc, giving or granting a 100% bonus status chance. Now, it would only be 44, but if it does go off, they'd be hit with 90% status duration with cold, so they'd be cold getting up from being ragdolled. Since this build isn't particularly built in any way that would benefit from any of the focus schools, I would use any of them. Matter-Eye would increase power strength, Xenoric increases energy economy, so I would choose whatever would benefit you the most. Now moving to the live demonstration of the video, I'd like to point out that this build is a little silly, considering, why a fast-moving Gyre? Why fast-moving Gyre? Why bother with that? It's because if you want to clear lots and lots of stuff quickly, you need to be moving fast, and if you want to be clearing lots of enemies quickly, then you need to be moving even faster. And just like that, you're able to clear hordes and hordes and hordes of enemies relatively quickly without having to worry too much about them attacking you. I like to think of this build as a real, flash and bang sort of build where all you do is run at and past enemies, and all you will do is instantly fry them so you can move on to the next horde. As you can see in the top right hand corner, everything is proccing, everything's running, everything's going. And the amount of slash ticks as well will help with anything particularly bulky. Now, I will point out that I am invulnerable, and I will be turning that promptly off. So just be careful with how squishy Gyre is, because if you're not, you will die. But considering her ability to clear low to medium leveled mobs quickly, you should be fine in that regard. And if need be, you can make a quick escape. Anywho, thank you very much for watching this video. I've quite enjoyed making this one, considering how much work goes into these. I would appreciate it if you commented if I could improve on this build, if I can make it better, or just make it like even a little bit better. That'd be fantastic feedback. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and have a lovely day.